Hello again. I am excited to make this the third of our Creative Renegades Instagram live series leading up to a really exciting event that we're going to be putting together in October for High Point Market. I'm going to be joined by Jenna Christensen, who is on her way in right now. Let me let her in. Okay. There she is. A little bit about that event so you can get ready for High Point Market if you're joining us. Hi, Jenna.
Hey,
How are you?
it's been a while. It's been a minute.
Just a minute, actually. Yeah, you've been everywhere. So I was just introducing this conversation again to say that we are excited to be continuing the conversation about what is and how do you become a creative renegade in our industry and beyond. And yeah, we're going to pick this up with a series of events in the fall in just a few weeks at High Point Market. And we want to talk a little bit about that before we get started.
Yes. So I'm
All
so
right.
excited for High Point. Like I know,
Me too.
it's so funny when we met that we didn't realize that both of us had grown up, in North Carolina, near you
Yeah.
in High Point, me just outside of. So it's really
Such a
been a
small
part,
world.
yeah, and it's been part of our upbringing. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
I've been going to that market since I'm like 14, 15 years old.
Yeah, me too.
So, like,
And it's changed so much, which is super exciting.
yeah, it's changed so much. And I think, I know for me anyway, like the experience of it, like what I'm doing now, going at 14, 15, walking around with my mom and dad, it's
Yeah.
very different from going now with a community of designers, leading conversations, trying to bring value,
Yeah.
connecting, especially after a long time of not being able to connect with people in person. It's just like
Hmm.
such a amazing time of year. So I'm so looking forward to being there again.
I am too, and I'm really excited because we have done several events together over the last few years, and we continue to do events with Universal Furniture. They have a learning center there which sponsors events multiple times per day, and they're always super value focused, educational, and they deal with a wide range of topics. And this time, we're going to be talking about how to become a creative renegade, and it's Saturday, the 23rd at 4 o'clock. So I'll include links to that, and we're going to also kind of promote that a little bit more. But we're going to have two really exciting panelists with us. Do you want to talk about them?
Yeah, sure. So I'm super excited that Christy Barber is joining us. I met
Yeah.
Christy actually at last market. She was on another panel that I moderated, and we spent a little time together while I was in High Point. And she's based in High Point and has created a really incredible design business. She's
Yeah.
an inspiring leader, and I just really, when I met her, was like, whoa, like can we be friends? Like what? I like what you're,
Yeah.
everything you're putting out there. And so I'm really interested in hearing her speak about, especially like, how do you navigate and move forward? After having gone through like a struggle,
Hmm.
the pandemic really throwing you for a loop, how do you continue to move forward?
Yeah.
Not fueled by fear, but fueled, by passion, focus,
Yeah.
and so forth. And I know Dawn that
Yeah.
you brought on. It's interesting. I'm going to let you talk more about her, but
Of
the
course.
funny
Yeah.
thing about that connection is like I met her years ago, and to have her come back into the mix is so fun.
Yeah.
So why don't you talk a little bit about Dawn?
Dawn is same. I have known her and actually knew her products before getting to know her, and every time I'm in her in her world, I'm just super inspired. She's a creative renegade to to the bone. She's an artist, but she's also a designer and a creative director, and she's been growing her brand as a tastemaker throughout our industry for many years. And so now she's at the edge of kind of creating a new community, a new sort of space in High Point, and that's actually where we're hosting our second event on Sunday. So she'll be on our panel, and then on Sunday, the 24th, I think the name is right. The 24th, we are doing three things in her new event space, which is really gorgeous. And we're going to try to kind of get as many people to this event who are interested. So we're going to do a workshop, which we'll talk about in a second. That'll start at 4:30 and to be an hour long. And we have RSVP links for that so people can sign up. We're going to be kind of doing a very similar approach where we, again, to introduce the work that we do, will be kind of working between both of us to help people understand their business and a brand, and which is what we're going to talk about in a few minutes. Just after that, we're going to have Dawn and Christy join us for a quick conversation to introduce the evening, and then the evening is networking and cocktails and just sort of getting to know other industry people, vendors, and other leaders who are focused on building their own brand in the home furnishings industry. So it's going to be really exciting, and I can't wait. We've just been planning this, and it's going to be really cool.
I want to just talk for a second about that sense of community you just touched upon,
Yeah.
with this like cocktail event, because I think it's so important that we have community, especially in this industry or in any industry
Mm-hmm.
where there are small business owners that just can very frequently feel all alone. So knowing that there is a trusted circle of people for you to be able to bounce ideas off, or just realize you're not the only one going through all this,
Yeah.
I have just found is so extraordinarily helpful. And I think because we did have such a long period of time where we could not come together in person,
Mm-hmm.
it's shown me how important it is to have those times, even if it's not every day, to have them a few times a year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's just so much that comes out of it. So I think it's really, I'm excited that we're doing this follow up, both
Yeah.
workshop and an event, like networking event, because I think
Mm-hmm.
it's just like another layer, I think, about of what we both care about, which
Mm-hmm.
is really trying to help these creative professionals, feel confident, trust in themselves, feel like they understand their message, can speak to what their brand is and what they do, in a very articulate way, and know that they're supported.
Yeah. I think too, High Point Market can be, especially if you've never been before, because it's so spread out around the whole city, and the venues are, there is now more of a source of truth for when events are, and what's happening outside your showroom visits and your appointments to see, vendors. But to get a sense of, who else is coming there, what else are they getting out of it, you really have to be talking to people. And sometimes that can happen, outside showrooms, or sometimes that can happen at lunch, or if you happen to be at the same cocktail party, but they're by chance. And so what we're trying to do is pull, people with the same, mindset, the same point of view, put them all together in one space and let those conversations happen more and more, because that is really what's happening at Market. Is it's sort of shifting toward a place where people go not just to, see trends and buy for their projects or buy for their showrooms, but to really stay connected, which we now, like you just said, means so much more, having to adapt to a new way of connecting to people, right, throughout the last few years. So I think this is the beginning of maybe more opportunities to create, physical spaces and physical events where people can really find their community and find, like-minded mentors, like-minded, colleagues, new people to reach out to outside of market. So it's super fun. Yeah.
So, should we dive into what our conversation is about today?
Let's dive in. Yeah. Today, I will say quickly, we we are leading this event with a very provocative question, and that is, are you a business or are you a brand? And really our point is not to define necessarily one or the other. It's to open a conversation about what that means, like you said, for our community of, business owners, small to medium, and sometimes large business owners too, really struggle with like not even, really not even having the tools to address this. So I think today we're going to spend all of our time, the rest of the time, talking about this, just to say, we'll be also bringing this up in both of these events, but really for people to begin to think and ponder, what does that mean for them, and what maybe can they do if they're interested in coming to our events. What do they need to think about before they arrive? Because they'll get so much more out of it when they get there.
Yeah. So, Ericka, how do you define a business?
For me, a business is pretty straightforward. A business is an organization that's making money, exchanging money for services or for products. And I won't go too much deeper into what, because I think if we talked about this, like if you ask 50 people in a room what color is red, right? How do you describe what red is? You'll get just as many different answers, right? A business, I think, is a little bit more straightforward than, defining what brand is and what that means. So I'm going to leave my answer pretty short at this point, and say the same back to you. What do you think a business is? What does it mean?
I mean, I think I agree with you. And when I think about, like, it's almost easier for me to define when I think about the differentiation
Mm-hmm.
between business and brand, right? Because there's so much things that a brand has. Like, a brand still makes money. A brand still is a system that sells product or service. To me, a brand, it just has so much more behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching this ridiculous Hulu show on the plane on my way home yesterday
Okay.
or on Saturday. It's all
Tell me,
about
because
the
I'm
Van
flying all
Dutch
of the
brand.
time too.
What's that?
I said, what is it? Let me know. So, because I'm flying all the
Oh
time
yeah,
too.
the Curse of Van Dutch. The Curse of Van Dutch. I had
Okay.
to watch it, but I will tell you, the one thing that I took away from this ridiculous show was something that the creator of the original Van Dutch said about brand. And that was, what you stand for matters more than what you sell.
Oh, I love that. Absolutely.
And so that's the difference between a business and a brand. Like, a
Yeah.
brand stands for something.
Yeah.
And that the thing that they stand for really helps guide all their decisions, right?
Yeah.
It guides the product they sell, it guides how they market, it guides
Mm-hmm.
the partnerships that
Yeah.
they create, it guides the clients that they
Yeah.
work with. I think a business doesn't get, like, it's almost like they, in a way, don't care. I find that people, because I've worked with people who have businesses.
Yeah.
They think they have a brand, but they have a business. And
They have a
it's more
logo.
about, what's
Yeah.
that?
They might have a
Yeah, it's,
logo.
yeah, they
Yeah.
have a logo and they think that's a brand. And yet they're not clear about what
Mm-hmm.
it is they stand for, or who they serve, or why they're doing what they're doing, and they're just kind of making decisions to try to grow and increase
Yeah.
sales, which there's nothing wrong with that. If that's
Yeah.
what you want. It's just like, I am more inspired, intrigued, and interested in working with people that want to create a brand. To
Yes. Yeah.
me, like, when you are creating a brand, there's a level of fulfillment and satisfaction that doesn't come from running a business.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think what you said, and I'll kind of continue on with that, is that a brand is like the lighthouse for everything. Every strategic decision you make in your business should be, because it's what your brand tells you to do, right? It's a guideline for making any decision, and it will guide the development of your logo, it will guide the development of your marketing approach, it will guide the development of, how you hire for your company, right? All of these things have to ladder up to having a really, really clear brand that you believe in, that everybody you work with believes in, and helps you make decisions, right? Even who to partner with, that should be based on your brand values. That should be based on what you really want your company, your business to represent. So the idea that brand takes time to develop. I think we'll both agree that it's a very it's a strategic process, and it can evolve over time. Like, I think we're both working with people who actually do have great brands, but really need to evolve them because times have changed. Maybe their business approach has changed and they need to rethink and come with a new mindset or come with a new strategy for how to adapt their brand. But the brand itself, right, lives as an idea in someone's mind, in their heart, right? It's how we feel. If you look around you, right, look at everything in the room where you are, right? How did it come to you? It came to you because you selected it based on a story you told yourself about it when you bought it, or when you borrowed it, or however it came to you, you felt like, this represents my kind of ideology or my point of view. And so your brand for your company and your business should be the same for other people, right? And we both work with a lot of interior designers, and brand sometimes comes as a surprise because it's more than style or more than types of work that they do, right? I know that you do a lot of work with people to get them to understand themselves, right? Do you want to talk about that? Because I will talk later about differentiator and whatever, but that seems to be a huge part of the
Yeah.
magic of what you do.
Yeah, and it's funny because I wrote down a couple of things while you were talking. One of the things I wrote down is like when I think about and what I love about helping people figure out their brand, getting more clarity, is that it really is a journey of self-discovery, you
Mm.
know, because I have people that come to me and say they think they know. Like I had
Yeah.
a client recently that said, I just need to simplify. I need to only do this one type of
Yeah.
design
Yeah.
because like everything else is just, it's too much. And after talking to her for a couple of sessions, I said, I'm hearing this, but I'm not convinced.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced that's the answer. Like I am hearing what it is that you want, which is this
Yeah.
feeling of really ease, this
Mm-hmm.
not feeling so weighed down. But I'm also hearing that you're this wildly creative individual that's going to get bored if you do
Yeah.
that one thing. So, how do we get you to get the thing that you want in a way that's actually going to deliver it and you're going to continue
Mm-hmm.
to be fulfilled? So, it's for me the most fun thing I've ever done. And I've done a lot of fun, cool things in my
Yeah,
career,
you
but
have
this
actually.
this journey of like I mean, to see when people get it, to see the look
Mm-hmm.
on their face, to feel that when they go, wow, that's right.
Yeah.
That it's, and then they start to that's when things really start to take off,
Yeah.
when they have kind of landed on what it is that they stand for, why are they doing what they're doing, what really excites them, or if
Mm-hmm.
they've lost passion for their business, like what excited
Yeah.
them before, how do I reconnect to that?
Yeah.
Um,
And that actually, on my end of the work, where it's really important, obviously, to get to to get to the understanding, to build a framework for really defining what the brand is. So once you know yourself, right, then how do you share that? Like, how do you communicate the brand message to other people, to the right people? We definitely agree on there has to be an equal reciprocator for someone who's open and open to the idea. And again, look around you at the brands you buy. You have a choice, right? And so do clients of interior design services, or clients of any type of creative service, as well as people who buy things, right? You always have a choice. The choice you make is based on brand. So what that brand is saying back to you, you're open to hearing. And the same has to happen with, well, I keep saying designers just because that's our kind of market for this event, but for any kind of service provider, you have to be speaking the right thing and saying the right message. And that message is delivered like a tagline. It's the messaging on your website, on your Instagram posts. It's sort of communicated across so many different channels. And that's what, we both love to do, and both kind of help guide people toward understanding that, I'll call it content, that the content that comes out of your brand really has to be echoing that story over and over and over again. And
say that again, over and over and over. I think
over
people
and
get
over
so
again,
afraid
again
to
and
repeat
again. Say
themselves.
it. Yes, yeah, I know. Well, but they think they already said it once, so why do I need to say it again? I
Right.
mean, of course you need to say it again because I don't know, I won't
No
blah
one
blah blah
remembers.
about the
No one
Instagram
remembers
algorithm,
and they
right?
don't care that much. You got to keep
Nobody's
repeating
thinking
yourself.
about you, honestly. Like, you got to get in front of people a lot in order for them to
Yeah.
hear you. And
Yeah.
I'd say it's not my theory, but at least 7 times. Say it again and again and again and again. So yeah.
Um, so when you were talking about content and
Mm,
messaging, and how do you connect with like the
mm,
right people? It brought me back to what you had said earlier about why did I buy these things, that are
mm-hmm.
sitting in my home? It was
Yeah.
about a story I told myself. It was a connection I felt.
Yeah.
And so, one of the things I find really interesting, and I think again is another difference between a business and a brand, you know, that message has to create a connection, like
Mm-hmm.
an emotional connection. And I know we've talked about this
Emotional
before.
connection. Yeah.
Yes, that people make decisions based on emotion. Like, so you
Always.
need to connect from an emotional perspective.
Yeah.
And listen, if you don't feel an emotional connection to your own message,
You can't
nobody else is going
create
to.
one. Yeah. No, I
Right?
agree.
There's a
Yeah.
there's a quote, I don't know who said it, but it goes something like this. If there are no tears for the writer, no tears for the reader. No laughter for the writer,
Oh,
no laughter for the reader. So if you're
oh,
not, I
that's
got the chills, yeah.
nice.
If you're not
Yeah.
connected and
Yeah.
feel connected and passionate and interested in the story you're
Hmm.
telling, why do you think anyone else will?
Yeah. Agreed. Completely agreed.
Yeah.
That,
What,
yeah,
what
the
other thoughts come up for you in terms of like the difference between, I know we were talking about this earlier, and just curious to hear what your thoughts are on this. Like, I think the mindset of a person who is running a business versus a brand is
mhm.
different.
Very.
What do you see in what you do? Yeah, when
Um,
in that capacity.
well, I'll also say, even before we can talk about the difference between business and brand, there is a difference between having a company and having a business, right? A business, in my definition, is not necessarily making a profit, but there's an exchange. Having a company, I see a lot of people, especially kind of new business owners, getting really fixed on the very kind of early. I have to give a website. I have to have business cards. I have to have my name trademarked. I have to have, all these components, right, that make up a company, bank account, whatever. But like, how do you know what you're going to do is even going to sell to somebody, right? That's where you should always start with brand, right? Where does the brand fit inside like a landscape of other brands, right? This is a question to ask when you're defining your brand and to understand kind of who you are is like, what makes you different? What makes you want to get out of bed in the morning and run your company or your business? That's your brand, right? So I think being very careful with understanding business and company is the first place to start. But between business and brand is really like, I see the difference is when business owners start to grow and start to scale, there's a lot of very complex issues that come up with, managing a larger company. With, scaling yourself, you have a lot more responsibilities. Of course, you have payroll, you have, bills to pay, about maybe your office or your whatever. You have a larger infrastructure to think about. And sometimes people begin to think that, well, the brand is fine, it's running itself. I don't need to think about that anymore. I think we both can step in and say, if you've built a solid brand, your brand will guide you in making those right decisions, and your brand will support you when you feel a little bit kind of lost on what direction to go with your company. With any kind of strategic decisions that you have to make, your brand becomes your lighthouse. And I think there's a lot of, I don't know, there's a lot of confidence and a lot of faith that comes from that, and putting in the work to say, okay, I will invest in brand. I will know that the shareholders or the stakeholders in my company can see that the value of having a really strong brand means that we are making good decisions for this business, and it will continue to make money and support us. I've said this before too. Together, we talked about brand being more than just a line item. It's an investment, and so for me, to answer your question, goes back to what do I see in the difference between the mindset of people who have business or brand, is that they recognize the value of investing in brand, and they see it as a much greater value to their company than just thinking about a logo or a mission or a vision statement. It's more than that. That was a long
Right.
answer. Tell me your thoughts.
No, I think, when you start talking about confidence,
Yeah.
like to me, when I think about the mindset of a business owner and someone who's leading a brand, when someone is leading a brand, they understand and can explain very clearly to themselves why they do things in a certain way, why they run their business in a certain way, why they lead in a certain way, why they speak about their business, the way they speak about their business, the way they design. Yep. And when you have that level of confidence, right, so that you can explain to yourself why this is important, you no longer feel the need to have to explain it to anyone else. Yeah. And when you have that, you are truly wearing the shoes of the expert, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you walk into a room with a client or a vendor or a contractor, in that place of grounded confidence, because you understand why you do things in a particular way, it allows you to lead from a place that, I don't want to say, it does feel easy in a way. It doesn't mean that you don't still have to stand up for the things that you believe in, because it's all about holding your line and holding boundaries, because you know why you're doing things the way you do it, right? It's about being able to say, no, this is how we do it, and if we do it this way, it's actually going to be best for everybody in this room. Right. And so, I think that's a little bit different way of saying it's the lighthouse, right? It's the lighthouse.
No, I love that,
Yeah, and it's also, I think there is something that comes from here's something that I think is a telltale sign if someone is in the mindset of running a business or a brand. Okay? Someone who has created a brand, again, they understand why they're doing what they're doing. They don't need to ask anyone, do you think I should do this?
Exactly.
They know what is right. Someone who's running a business is going to ask everybody in the world, what do you think? Should I do this? Should I do that? What are your thoughts? What do you think of this? Yep. They're looking for outside validation because they haven't developed that trust in themselves, because they don't have the roadmap. They don't have the lighthouse that they're moving towards. I think that's the biggest difference. Yeah.
And with that, we are do you want to keep talking? Because I think we have obviously many, 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 many more ways to kind of bring insight to this, but we're keeping these to half an hour, but we can keep going if you'd like.
Listen, I could talk all day, but I'm going to keep this to I'm going to hold my line, my boundary of let's do half an hour, because we both have a lot of other things to do today, and we're going to keep having these conversations. And there's time.
There is time. And again, just to recap too, I'll say we're going to have this conversation at market. So, and it will go longer, and we're doing a workshop. And so there'll be a lot of chance for people to be more interactive as well, ask questions and kind of, and hear more from us. So, and we'll be back next week. So
I want to
continuing to
ask you
have
one
the
last question
conversation.
before we
Yes.
sign off. Like, because you said, today we're planting the seed. So, what do you want
Yes.
people to start thinking about leading up to market? What's the one thing you want them to think
I
about?
definitely want people to think about, what does their brand mean? What, tell me in 2 seconds, what does it look like? Who, how are you defining your brand? And I'm assuming, a lot of people might struggle with that. And that's okay, because, we're here can help support them. But I think the question to ask yourself is, what does brand mean to me? What does my brand mean? Have I
Yeah.
defined it clear enough?
Yeah.
And about you, what do you think?
I want people to bring some awareness to this and get really honest with themselves
Mm,
and really look at, how am I in the mindset of running a business or a brand?
yeah,
And, you know, that's the first step. Second step is, if I'm running it as a business, what might be the benefits? Like,
yeah,
what are the challenges and what might be the benefits of stepping into the idea of building a brand?
yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. All right, lady. Well, thank you for your time, and thank you for everyone who tuned in and everyone who watches this afterward. These conversations are really exciting and important, and I'm like super excited to continue to have them. So thank you, Jenna. I really, really
Yeah,
value your time.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, appreciate your time. Can't wait to see you in person again. And I'll see you
me
here on
too.
IG Live next week.
Sounds great. All right.
All right.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.